Hello, hello, hello. Test, test, test. Audio's good. Oh, I need to mute my streams every time. You'd think one day I would do that. We'll give everyone a few minutes to get in here. I'll slurp down some coffee in the meantime. Try to organize some thoughts. Bear steak for dinner. Apparently bear is like really tasty. According to Joe Rogan anyway. That's what I hear. I've never actually had bear myself though. Would eat it. I went to Australia one time and I had all kinds of dude, they eat everything there. I had crocodile, which isn't that crazy. I think I had ostrich, I had kangaroo. Is that like some funny enough, he was at like a Brazilian steakhouse in fucking Australia of all places, and they were just like serving, just like here's our version of a Brazilian steakhouse. It was just like roadkill. They're just throwing roadkill at us. Is it 3:30 yet? Yeah, it's 3:30. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So the let's start with the dollar index, because that was the way I started the precursor to the stream. I don't know if you noticed, but it's the same title, but I inserted the little still in there because I think nothing's changed in the last week or two, whatever it was. I think it was 2 weeks ago. Maybe it's last week. Whatever. 2 weeks ago. I am still a dollar bear, and as a consequence of that, I am a bull on everything anti-dollar. So gold, stocks, housing, crypto, silver, anything denominated in the dollar. The simple theory, for those who don't know, is that I am bearish USD. So USD, if that goes down, then everything that's denominated in the dollar will go up. Just simple math here, folks. But the argument is very strong for a bearish continuation of the dollar, and one way to argue that is through the lens of the dollar index. For those who don't know, the dollar index DXY is it's a relative weighting of the dollar versus other major currencies. So as the dollar goes down, other currencies relative to it go up. So you'll see things like obscure things like the Danish kroner suddenly seeing a hike up as the dollar sees a leg down. You'll see the euro going up. You'll see the British pound going up relative to the dollar. And similar to the other currencies, we'll see things like Bitcoin going up. We'll see things like gold and stocks going up. And the argument that I have here is, so when we look at the monthly time frame for the dollar, it is amid a strong breakout to the downside. It's been within this range, however you want to draw it. That's not a word. However you want to draw it, something like that. A couple of different ways to draw it. Regardless, it's testing the support for the 1, 2, 3, 4th time, and it's looking like it wants to continue. The argument for the continuation, we see a very strong squeeze on the Bollinger Bands here. Let's get rid of you. No sense in having that. We see a very strong squeeze. And for those who don't know how the Bollinger Bands work, it's just It's a visualization of relative volatility to the price action that preceded the current move. That's a lot of jargon to say that the tighter the bands get, something like this, the more consolidated a market is, and the tighter they are, once the bands start to expand like they are right now, the move tends to be strong relative to the squeeze. So whenever we have big, relatively large squeezes, the move to the upside or downside isn't very big. And whenever we have tight squeezes like this, the move tends to be a little bit more profound. And right now we're seeing a move to the downside. If we look a little bit closer here, we can actually see that the price is outside of the Bollinger Bands. And typically that is, just in general, that is a sign of a relatively localized oversold condition, and vice versa. Whenever it has an overbought condition, something like this, it's outside the top side of the Bollinger Bands. And right now, what the market generally likes to do is whenever it gets in this oversold or overbought condition, if it's a strong move, it'll kind of just consolidate sideways and then continue upward. That's not to say just because it's outside of the Bollinger Bands it's going to continue to do that. I mean, we can see on really, really strong moves like this one, we saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles and 6 months in a row of closing and opening outside the Bollinger Bands until ultimately it started to slide back in, and then it just consolidated sideways. So what's the takeaway here? On the downside here, we see a very strong move breaking out of a strong consolidation following a fake out to the upside. So we see a fake out to the upside and a very strong rejection of the false breakout, and it's just cascading downward. So we see a brief respite here outside of the Bollinger Bands, and when we look in closer, we'll start to see why. So if we look at our trend metrics, something like the Ichimoku cloud system, which is something I like to use, we can see that it's kind of in this oversold condition on the weekly. The oversold condition being that we see we're pretty far away from the 200 EMA. We haven't, typically markets like to retest this 200 EMA at some point. That's not to say it's a must, as we can see. Let me send this to the back. That's a bit of an send to back. Be gone. Background. More. Okay. That's not to say that just because it hasn't touched the EMA that it's going to reverse and retap it, because we can see here on the last major move to the upside, it didn't retest the 200 EMA for 3 years, from 2014 to 2017. So that's not a must, but in general, markets like to do that. We can see it here. Let me get rid of this cloud so it'll make it a little bit more clear. We can see it happens here and here, and oops. We can see it happen here and here on the bearish move. And then of course it likes to just feather in these little tests of the 50 EMA before ultimately reversing. So right now we're on the beginning of the leg down, and we're very far below the 200 EMA. And we have yet to see a retest, but again, that's not a prerequisite for a continuation. It doesn't have to retest the 200 EMA before it continues. Didn't happen here, so it's not always a must. But if it does start to move to the upside, that's the likely target. However, I don't think that's going to be the case. A, because the Bollinger Bands are just, the monthly Bollinger Bands were so tightly consolidated, they were breaking out, and this is an aggressive move to the downside. And I think I think honestly, at best, we're just going to kind of see this little range and then a continuation. I do not see this rallying. I don't know what fundamentally would change with the financial system that would cause it to rally. The only thing that's in the pipeline right now is more stimulus, right? More stimulus equals devaluation of the dollar. That's just the consequence of stimulus. The government's going to print money, and it's going to increase the total supply without increasing the total demand. If anything, the demand is weaker because people aren't shopping, people aren't buying things. So it's not looking good. So when we slap this Ichimoku cloud trend, we can kind of see that it's in this localized oversold condition. But really what I think is going to happen is this this Tenkan right here, this slower moving average, is just going to kind of meet down with price and keep going. We saw it here, for example. Market consolidated for a few weeks, and then the Tenkan just came screaming upward, met with price. Once it met with price, it continued upward, did it again. So I think that's really what we're going to see. And when we look at stuff like the daily, there's nothing terribly too inspiring for the bulls, you know. We do see a little bit of a, we call this a weak bullish cross. It's considered a quote-unquote weak, a weak bullshit cross, a weak bullish cross, and that's this. And that's just simply because the trend is still down, even though we do see the crossing of the Tenkan and the Kijun right here. That doesn't necessarily mean reversal. The trend is still bearish. The cloud is still bearish. The 250 EMA are still screaming downwards. And the worst case scenarios for the bulls, i.e. a best case scenario for the bears, is that we get this cross and then it recrosses downwards. So, you know, something like this where the Kijun kind of goes sideways and the Tenkan comes up and it recrosses. And that's what I'm looking for. Obviously, at this point, I'm just prognosticating. I'm not basing that off of anything other than a simple guess. But I think that guess is strongly supported given that the monthly situation is quite dire. It's slamming into support. It's arguably closing down below support. The Bollinger Bands are telling us downward continuation. So the big takeaway here is most likely going to see more dollar downside. If I had to guess, I would guess we are somewhere right here. And I'm really looking for, especially if we start closing below this level, if we get down below here, it's not going to be looking good. A major support lies like in this whole zone here. But if we're looking at this channel, I mean, this could easily, comfortably mark down to 63. And that would be a 30% drop. But even from here, this is still a swift move, 10 to 15%. I mean, that's enough to really get some chaos in the financial system, and that's of course going to be bullish for Bitcoin. Before I move on from the dollar index argument to the actual relevant stuff like crypto, do you guys have any questions about this stuff? Great stream so far. Thanks for doing this. You're welcome. I'll let the, I know there's like a delay, so I'll let the stream catch up. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask away. Otherwise, we'll just keep on marching down. How long do you think it will take to play out? Okay, so question from YouTube. How long do I think it'll take to play out? Well, if history tells us anything, keep in mind, these candles are monthly candles. And typical breakouts of these tight consolidations lead to 1 to 2 to 3 to possibly 4 to 5 years to resolve itself. I mean, the last major bearish move took place in 2002, and that took from what? Beginning of 2002 to 2008. That was 6 years. And then the last major upside move, 2014 to, you could argue, the top at 2017. So that was 3 years. And keep in mind, guys, this, I don't know why this is here. This is the tightest the Bollinger Bands on the monthly have ever been. Significantly tighter. So this market is tightly wound, and it's gonna, I mean, unless you just have to ask yourself, what could possibly happen at this point in history that is going to cause a reversal here? And I just don't see it, you know. They were already talking about doing another round of strict quarantines because of the possible reinfection of COVID patients. People are still seeing mass unemployment. Stimulus is around the corner. We've got this crazy election. I mean, what is going to be the catalyst for reversal? I mean, it's at minimum, I see this going down to 15%, the 10 to 15% figure. So seems like, okay, so Jack from Twitch says, seems like most countries have a stimulus plan. Yeah, of course. If that's the case, what makes the dollar worth less than other currencies? I mean, that's a good question. That I don't have a really good answer for that. I mean, one could speculate that our country is been running on it's been running on fumes for a while. So after the 2008 financial crisis, a lot of the businesses that caused the financial crisis, I mean, they're still up and running. What's specific about our country versus a lot of other countries is our government is handpicking. It's doing this artificial natural selection of it's dipping its hands into the free market / capitalist gears, and it's handpicking winners and losers in our economic system. And that is just anti-capitalist in general, and that is anti-free market, and it's been doing that for years. So this mass this mass recession / depression that should have taken place years ago, well, the issues that caused the 2008 financial crisis, those never got fixed. They just got delayed, and they got delayed. And the day of reckoning is coming. And it seems like the burden is being put on the US to solve this, and it's not. And now we're going to have a big Band-Aid to rip off. So from Twitch, no one is printing trillions. Yeah, so no one's printing trillions, but you also got to look at it relative to the economy. Like, to be honest with you, I haven't kept up with what the rounds of stimulus have looked like in other countries. But I would imagine there's some sort of scaling. Obviously, a country like, like if Australia was going to do stimulus, for example, like their economy is like a fraction of ours. So they're not going to print trillions, but they would print something of scale. But it seems like what is unique to the United States is the way that we're propping up failing businesses and removing competition, and it's creating single points of failure in our economy over time. What do you call that blue channel? This thing? This little guy? This thing? If you're talking about that, these are Bollinger Bands. The blue bar. The blue bar. Down here? Or what? Or this? What's it? What are you referring to? Do they mean the lower range? I'm not sure. We'll get back to that question. That bluish lower region. This is green, my dude. That's aqua. You could even argue teal. This zone right here. This is just a zone of because there's not a clean like a quote unquote like level where you could say there's a very defined level of support. I mean, look, it's just kind of like this mass of shit down here. rather than just having a discrete level, it's just a zone of support. Because you can see that the market really pivoted in here. You know, there's no consistent like lower low or higher high. I mean, you can argue this is, you know, a level of swing highs, but the swing lows they're just all over the place. So I just have this whole zone as like support that will most likely be tested. Oh, I got a bit donation. That's the first one I've gotten in like 3 years. Thanks, dude. Okay, anyway, so let's go ahead and move on, because to be honest with you, this is the least interesting of the stuff to talk about. But it is important, because this dollar index argument is what's actually painting my bullish bias for most other markets. And it's important to keep this into consideration, because the Bitcoin USD pair, you know, BTC USD is a ratio of Bitcoin to USD. So as USD goes down, the relative price of Bitcoin goes up. So let's go ahead and talk about the crypto market, okay? So I view the crypto market a little bit differently than most people, if not everyone. And I don't know why people don't view it through this lens, but I'm totally fine with this. I view the market as really, I'm going to go ahead and list it out so it'll make a little bit more sense. So crypto equals one asset. Within the asset, there are subclasses that can be what is it? That can be okay. So subcategory 1 is Bitcoin. Subcategory 2 is high cap alts. Okay. So this is how I view crypto. I view crypto as one asset, meaning that I look at, before I even start to get a bias on Bitcoin or high cap alts or low cap alts, I want to know, is capital coming into crypto at all? Because that will undoubtedly guide the way in which capital flows throughout the market. If capital is not entering the market, then everything else that's going up is just a smoke and mirror show for an otherwise bearish situation. So what do I mean by that? If we see that the total market cap, for example, is trending downward, but for whatever reason we see Ethereum going up while the total capital is going down, total market cap is going down, this most likely means this is about to sell into something else. This is going to sell into Bitcoin, it's going to sell into USD, and it's going to see a significant retracement. What we want to see in a bull market is we want to see the total market cap moving upward. This, when we look at the total market cap, and we're looking at, this is a visual representation of capital entering or exiting the market. And you can see, funny enough, that the total market cap, although it's not a traded instrument, I'm sure there are some derivative exchanges that have, you know, pairs for the market cap, but it's not a, you know, it's not like, you know, there's no like S&P 500 equivalent, like a SPY ETF where total market cap is traded. Maybe one day there will be. There should be, actually. It'll be a lot easier to trade. But you can see there are very clear support and resistance levels on this total market cap. And what we can take away from that is that if you are a large hedge fund manager and you're managing a large amount of money, crypto is a drop in the bucket. Okay, crypto is like a fraction of the percentage of the total market cap of just Apple stock alone. So crypto, if you're a large trader, there's a liquidity crisis that's constantly underway. That if you have a lot of money in the crypto market, you have to have very sophisticated strategies for entering and exiting the market without pumping and dumping crypto as a whole. So one way to tell if capital is entering or exiting the market is to look at the total crypto market cap. When we look at the total crypto market cap, you can treat it just like any other asset. And the takeaway here is that we want to see a bullish trend on the total crypto market cap first. Okay, so crypto, this is the whole argument. Crypto is one asset. Okay, so let's go ahead and add on to our little notes here. If total goes up, bullish environment. Check. Okay, so why can I say check? We see very clear higher highs, higher lows, and what's unique about our current market structure is we are putting in place a retested broken resistance that's been in place since 2019. You could argue since 2018. And this is now I don't know if you guys can hear that siren, but some shit is going down. I apologize if that's loud, but it's loud for me too. And I have noise canceling headphones on, but there's like a bunch of cops and fire trucks. Anyway, what's especially relevant about this is look how clean this level retest is. We see a very clear breakout of this level, and rather than getting rejected and spat back below the level, we see a very clean retest, and the market is starting to come off of this level. When we look at our trend metrics as well, we see a very, let's look at the daily trend. We see a very clear bullish trend. I mean, there is a couple of like bearish characteristics of it, but it's an otherwise bullish trend. The 200 EMA, which is the trend decider, you know, it's the objective view of the trend. It's moving up. The market is currently fighting with the 50 EMA, but it's not trending below the cloud. It's just kind of like in this point of consolidation. And when we look at the weekly time frame, this just looks like a bullish trend to me. It's just doing these little series of tests, and the Kijun is starting to climb upward. When we look at the, you know, just from a levels perspective, it doesn't get much cleaner than this. A very clear bobbing below the waterline here, rejection and rally. The fuck? And yeah, I mean, this is painting a good picture. So crypto as a whole trending upward? Yes, check. So now let's go ahead and look at the altcoin market caps. So total 1, check, very bullish. Total 2, which is just the altcoin market cap. Well, what do you know? We see the same thing. We see a very clear breakout. Let's get rid of this stuff. We see a very clear breakout and retest of this swing high. And funny enough, it's breaking out of this humongous trading range, and it's in the form of a double bottom. And it has, so for those who don't know, so double bottoms typically have this sort of structure where it's, you know, a very clear resistance and support. It'll come up, boom, boom, boom. Sometimes it'll come up, retest, and keep going. And this little meme right here, this little guy, this is called a throwback. And that's exactly what we're seeing right here. So we see a very clear breakout, see a very clear throwback. And so far, it's getting a bullish reaction off of the swing high. And it still has a ton of upside to it. What is the most important thing about what we're seeing with this altcoin market cap is that for the first time, this massive swing low is now support for the first time since 2018. And now the upside target, funny enough, if you're into levels and all that stuff. The upside target is this band of stuff right here. So so total market cap, check. Altcoin market cap, check. Bullish, bullish. And now let's look at Bitcoin. Before we go to Bitcoin, do you guys have any questions about the total market cap argument that I'm making? If not, I'll just go ahead and continue on to Bitcoin. I'm sure that's why everyone's here anyway. They don't care about my dollar theory, do you? No one listens to me. All right, onward. Okay, so let's talk about the Bitcoin. So there's a lot going on here. Right now, the monthly candle is, it's only halfway through. So looking at the monthly view isn't terribly exciting. We're currently below the last swing high, but again, it's like, a couple $100. What is it? $120 below. So who gives a shit, really? 2 weeks. When we look at the weekly view, we see a little bit more resolution on the matter. So we can see a very clean, it just went up and just feathered that monthly level. That's this guy right here, this swing high. And, we're currently seeing a little bit of a rejection, but it's only a day and a half, or I'm sorry, a day into the current weekly candle. So take that with a huge grain of salt. But the point that we really want to focus on here is sometimes when you jump around on different time frames, it kind of slides your stuff up a little bit. So the really big takeaway here, though, is I see a lot of people on Twitter right now. I don't spend a lot of time on Twitter these days. I kind of just poke around just to get a general idea every few days. But I don't sit there and engage with people anymore. It's just kind of, I don't know, not terribly interesting. And I think most of the time people are kind of just trolling anyway. But one of the things that I noticed today, which was kind of surprising, was that I see a lot of people talking about how the weekly chart is bearish. And I don't see it, especially given the context of the total market cap. I don't see it. And when we look at the Bitcoin chart, I actually don't see this as a bearish argument. I see this as a bullish argument. That's what kind of makes charting and analysis like more of a. It's totally up for interpretation because you can throw a complex spattering of ups and downs, and everyone will see it differently. So I'll just give my take on it. My take is this. Let me get a cleaner chart, a blank slate. Okay, so when we look at the swing highs and swing lows, similar to the dollar index that I was talking about, how it has like this zone where it's not a bunch of clear swing lows, Bitcoin kind of has that on swing highs. So, we can see this guy right here being especially relevant, and we'll just kind of extend this over. Like, look, there's no clear intersection. But what is interesting about this swing low is that back in 2019, this was the major point of contention between the bears and the bulls, where it was constantly swinging above and below. When we look at, let me make this. We can see that it was a major battleground on several occasions. And of course, all of this stuff right in here. And once this gave way, this support wasn't entirely relevant because this was the level to lose. And when it lost, it cascaded, came up and retested, it lost it, came up and retested it, and it lost it. So what are we seeing differently now? We're actually seeing, rather than it being rejected below it, we're seeing it finding support on it. And this is a major change of character for our market because it's been tested how many times? A million, 1, 2, 3, broke it, and now it's retesting it. And rather than it just getting rejected back below it, it's finding support. And when we look at the weekly view, I don't want to just focus on that level because I think focusing on discrete levels for weekly views is it doesn't really paint the full picture. So I would feel more comfortable rather than drawing just that horizontal. I want to paint more of a zone. And I think the zone, in my opinion, is best suited to fit something like that. Where you see back in 2018, the market just was not comfortable staying above this level. You know, it fought, but then the real bear market began once this level gave away. You know, we did have this, of course, steep markdown, but when I mean the quote unquote real bear market, I mean the long, grueling, just grinding bear market began once we lost this level here, and it just kind of just died down, and then we went into an ice age. And now we see the market currently fighting back above it. So when we look at the weekly time frame, I don't see this as bearish. I see this as a bullish change of character. Rather than it being a rejection of this level, we're seeing a higher swing high. Higher swing low. So we see swing high, swing low, swing high, swing low, and especially if we can close this weekly green, that would be huge in my book. Especially given the dollar argument that I made, and especially given the total market cap that I kind of broke down a few minutes ago. So, crypto asset, if total goes up, bullish environment, check. Bitcoin, so we made an argument about the structure. Let's make an argument about the trend, because structure doesn't mean shit if the market isn't trending. So when we look at the trend I like to use, the trend model I like to use is the Ichimoku Cloud System with 50 and 200 EMA. And specifically a time frame that I've been finding really interesting is the 3-day time frame. It's a nice middle ground between the daily time frame and the weekly time frame, and it actually gives pretty clean signals. And currently, this is still a bullish environment. Although we're finding a little bit of resistance here on the 3-day Kijun, I like the fact that the market is finding support on the 50 EMA. The 200 is trending upward right as we're coming into this structural support resistance test, and it's getting the A-OK on that end. I'd like to see the 3-day starting to trend back above this Kijun, obviously. But, in the meantime, there's nothing terribly bearish about this. And this is like starting to give inklings of bearishness, but we still see the lagging span above the price, the prices above the cloud. Everything's still bullish. It's just kind of seeing this pullback at the moment. And when we look at the daily cloud, it is kind of running into this resistance on the Kumo, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's just going to get flat out rejected here. It is leaning bearish on the daily, but I'm mostly concerned at this moment with the macro picture, something like the weekly, something like the monthly. Like, what's it going to be doing in a year from now? What's it going to be doing in a couple months from now? The daily at the moment is just kind of like, it's just chilling on support. and it's bumping into here. If it starts to see a strong rejection off this cloud and closing below the support, that would start to raise my eyebrows. But you know, again, it's not something that I'm terribly concerned with at the moment. When we look at the lower time frame, like the 4 hour, it's showing signs of a reversal, which is why I'm kind of not really taking this terribly seriously at the moment. And when we look at the daily, the 3-day, and the weekly, we kind of get a little bit better of a picture there. I don't even know your dollar theory. It's just correcting. I mean, I just spent like 20 minutes talking about it, but okay, so this is a long question from Twitch. Hey, hi. All right, so long question from Twitch. Let's see what this says. I longed March contracts bigly on the weekly close last night. I'm keeping this baby until it settles. Okay. This is the cleanest breakout. Okay. Yeah, basically just saying he longed the close. Okay, not really a question there. Okay. So let's go back to our little text box here. We are bullish. Bitcoin. Structurally bullish. Trend is bullish, but could still see tests of lows. And I'm just saying that based on the lack of clarity between. Ideally, I'd like to see, you know, low time frame, mid time frame, and high time frame all in agreement right now, and that's just not what we're seeing. This could the market could easily be doing something like this, where it's, you know, trending below the cloud. We see a bearish Kumo, and then it like kind of does a little breakout thing. So watching this interaction is going to be really important, but most important is going to be this zone of stuff down here. But either way, it's structurally bullish, especially on the weekly. The high time frame, like the weekly trend, is definitely up. The mid time frame, like the 3-day, is definitely up. Don't want to see a strong rejection here. This lines up nicely with our daily cloud. So some immediate stuff for you guys to keep an eye on. So structurally bullish, high cap alts. I wish I could make brackets here. Let's say 2A instead of 3. Say 2B. And we'll say 2. Yes, we already talked about this. Would it help if I actually posted these charts in the chat so you can like have them? Like once I'm finished with my annotation, would it help if I just posted the link in the chat? Would that be something you guys would want to see? Because I can just do that. I feel like that'd be, maybe some people want to like put it on the refrigerator or something. Okay, I'll post the link. Okay, so we talked about crypto as a whole. Total market cap's going up. Cool. Now let's dive a little deeper. We looked at Bitcoin. Bitcoin Bitcoin is structurally bullish. Trend is bullish, but could see tests of lows. Let's say tests of lows. Oh, fuck. Okay. I thought I deleted it. Tests of lows before bearish bias kicks in. How about that? Bearish bias begins to kick in. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's look at Ether. Because Ether's been, this is another chart that I've been in a huge point of contention with a lot of people on crypto Twitter, and I don't get it, but whatever, I don't care. Okay, so Ether. Last time we talked, it was like up here, and I was like, you know, I could see this going to a gajillion dollars, and then of course it properly, quote unquote, shit the bed. But again, this is not something that's going to make me sell spot. This is just a buying the dip opportunity in my book, and I'll tell you why. So first of all, when we look at the let's keep it consistent. Let's talk about the structure first. So structure, this is about as clean as it gets in my book. I have not seen many people talk about this, but this is the thing that's the most bullish in my mind. This was something that I was talking about in my trading group, was that the most bullish situation, the most bullish situation that we could ask for Ether is a support resistance flip on this level. Closing down here could likely mean retesting here, but we didn't see that. We saw a very deep retest of the range low. I'm sorry, the range high. Range high being all of this stuff right here. It wicked down and it closed beautifully above this level. This is the $350 level. This was the level that was prior resistance, never got tested cleanly as support, only failed as support. And now we're seeing, once again, the keyword here is change of character. Change of character. Here. Here. This was strong resistance before. The fact that we are flipping this as support is huge. And when we look at stuff like our trend metrics, couldn't be cleaner than this. This is bulls on bulls on bulls. We see a perfect golden cross on the weekly. The market is just finding support on the Tenkin. When we look at the 3-day, that time frame I mentioned, we saw a perfect golden cross, a retest of the Kijun, perfect trend. We look at the daily, you know, we get a little bit more of like a consolidation sort of thing, because it found support on the bottom of the cloud. It's finding support on the 50 EMA. We are seeing this little memer right here where it's like getting the bearish twist, but nothing to get your panties in a wad about. We've seen that plenty of times where we see, I'm referring back to here because this was during the bull market, where we see like these temporary twists and a continuation to the upside. But you know, again, when we're looking at the grand scheme of things here, this is about as this is shit I've been waiting for 3 years to see. Clean breakout of the cloud, clean retest of levels rather than just like blasting right through it. Yeah, this is, to me, this is an opportunity to buy spot on the pullbacks. This isn't risk off, this is risk on. So here, this is Ether. When we look at stuff like, what's another large? Tether. Let's look at XRP. I have that chart here. XRP has been kind of lagging behind. XRP has been kind of lagging behind, but it's also seeing a change of character. The change of character that is breaking this 50 EMA on the 3-day. It's, you know, it's kind of doing business as usual here. But again, nothing terribly bearish. It's finding support on the 50 EMA. And what's especially relevant to this argument is that, so again, I want to go back to this total market cap. So capital is entering the market. Cool. When we look at the total too, which is the altcoin market cap, we see that this is where the real gains are going to be manifesting over the next few weeks. Capital hasn't even begun to enter this market yet. It's just, people are just now dipping their toes. People have been waiting for this pullback, and they finally got it. So when we look at these arguments, let's go ahead and also look at the Bitcoin pairs as well. So here's Ether Bitcoin. I mean, this is as literally as bullish as you could ask for. Clean cloud breakout, retested the 200 EMA, trending on the Tenkan. What else? I mean, it's running into a little bit of resistance here, but oops. But who gives a shit? It's trending very cleanly. It's finding support. I left this support off. It's finding support on this swing high. I mean, come on, guys. Like, this is insane. This is, just can't believe that people are bearish on this stuff. Like, I'm still seeing people calling for 4K. I mean, maybe I'll just look like a huge asshole at the end of the day, and maybe it will go to 4K, but this is not, this just doesn't, I'm just not seeing it. I'm not seeing it here, Lloyd. So Ether Bitcoin, bullish. I don't even have to look at the XRP BTC chart to say that it's probably not going to look the best. Yeah, looks like shit. XRP's kind of been flopping around. Let's look at Litecoin. Litecoin weekly. Not the best look on Litecoin. What's the Litecoin BTC chart? Probably gonna look like absolute trash. Yeah, it's actually like at its range low here. Litecoin looks like it needs to be put out of its misery. But Chainlink actually. Oh wow, I haven't looked at this in a while. Chainlink is actually above Litecoin, so let's look at Chainlink because I love Chainlink. So here's Link. It is trending a little bit below the cloud, so this is kind of a little worrisome. Typically when it starts closing the daily below the cloud, it tends to revert to this 200 EMA. We've seen it happen a ton of times. Whenever it starts closing, yeah, so here we go. Whenever it starts closing below the cloud, it tends to kind of bleed out to the 200 EMA. Again, here, obviously this is a much more aggressive look. That's not to say that's what's going to happen here, but if you're looking to buy the dip on Chainlink, this 200 EMA is a really great target. I bought at 12. I was expecting this 50 EMA to hold, but the fact that it hasn't been completely rejected here, and it's kind of doing this like serpentine thing where it's like, snaking around the 50 EMA, that actually has me a little bit more bullish than a breakout, a retest, and a rejection of the. So let's say it's something like, I could probably find one on this chart. Let's say this in reverse, where it breaks out, a retest, and it goes. The fact that it's like sitting here grinding it, that is often a sign of accumulation. If we look at like low time frames here, that is often a sign of accumulation. See, because we're seeing these higher lows and a constant hammering of this resistance 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So really what we want to see is a close above the 50 and in the cloud. If we can get a close in the cloud, that is most likely going to yield a bullish continuation. And I'm just like uber bullish on Link. I think Link is going to be the really big thing. It's going to be the ether of the next bull run, in my opinion. Linketh. No, what am I doing? Link BTC. There's a Freudian slip there. Actually, let's look at Link ETH. Nothing terribly insightful here. Yeah, Link BTC looks much cleaner. Holding the 50 EMA on the daily. Still a bullish cloud, still a bullish trend. I would definitely want to see this sucker above the cloud. I want to see this trending above. That would be ideal. But again, it's just kind of doing this consolidation dealio. And as long as it's not breaking through and just like hammering through support, nothing terribly eye-opening, this should be an opportunity to start building a position, if anything. What else? Polkadot. Jesus. The hell is crypto.com coin? Dude, what is this? What is this shit? Okay. Anyway, point being, long story short, high cap alts. So, there you have it, folks. Any thoughts on Total 2 shattering to millions new Whale Unlimited? What do you mean by that? Any thoughts on Total 2 shattering to million new shitcoins? What does that mean? And that's kind of what Total 2 is. It's just a collection of everything that isn't Bitcoin. It's the total market cap of crypto sans Bitcoin. That's what Total 2 is. So many new altcoins popping up. Dude, that's what crypto does. I don't know if you were around in 2017, but in 2017, it was like they were just budding off new coins, especially with all these. It was like everything was ICOing. And now the big craze is fuck ICOs. You know, get in on a DeFi project. And to be honest with you, I haven't even spent an ounce of energy looking into DeFi projects. I'm sure I've left a lot of opportunities on the table, but someone's saying Link is overbought on the weekly and monthly. Overbought on the monthly. How can you even come to that conclusion? I don't even know how you can even begin to look at Link being overbought. By what metric are you saying it's overbought? Because by the trend metric, it's actually like totally fine. Surprisingly enough, it came down and had a perfect retest of this thing. Do you even trade, bro? One day. I'd like to trade one day. I'm still waiting for that day, though. I heard trading's fun, but I've yet to try it. Honestly, the trend metrics for weekly on Link is annoyingly healthy, to be honest with you. Yeah. Thoughts on DOT? from Whale Unlimited, but I mean that, would it be more bullish? Would it be more bullish if the total two were the same with less coins? No, because it's, again, it's the framing of the argument, right? Is that you look at it from the lens of it being one asset. It doesn't matter if there's a fucking million altcoins or 10. The capital is the same. The capital entering and exiting and sloshing around the market is the same. Like, I think of the capital. So first of all, I think of things a little weirdly, but I'll try to see if this makes any sense. The argument is this. Okay, so we have a bathtub. Okay, here's a cross section of the bathtub. And here's the faucet. Okay. First of all, we want to know, is water coming into the bathtub? Or is it draining out through the bottom? Well, obviously there's water draining out of the bottom of the bathtub, but is the water coming in, is the rate at which water is filling up the bathtub faster than the rate at which water is leaving the bathtub? Okay, cool. We've determined that the water is rising faster than it's depleting. Okay. But it's a more complex bathtub than that. We want to know at what point the bathtub is the deepest. So water tends to slosh around. Once water enters the bathtub, it doesn't tend to just sit here on a flat level and rise. It tends to slosh around in the bathtub. Sometimes it's higher over here. Sometimes it's higher over here. But the capital is the same. So water in the bathtub, you can think about it broken up in half. The left half is Bitcoin. The right half is, and at the extremes of the tub, this is like the lower market cap pump and dump stuff. And water tends to slosh from side to side, but rarely does it rise on both sides equally. And so right now we're at the point where water is sloshing to the right side, the altcoin side, and it has yet to return to Bitcoin. So that's why we're seeing this great outperformance of alts relative to Bitcoin. And we're seeing capital still enter the market. And so what you want to do is you want to know, you don't care what the asset is over here. You just want to know, is this water going to return to Bitcoin? Because typically the market enters into Bitcoin or USD, sloshes over to alts, and before it drains out of the bathtub, it sloshes back to Bitcoin and enters into USD. That probably just confused you more, didn't it? If that didn't make any sense to you, then ignore everything I just said. But the whole name of the game is finding the liquidity slosh in the market bathtub. All right, what is this question? Let me see. Link to fall to 9.46 equals 21 EMA. Okay. Thoughts on DOT? What is it? What is the ticker? Isn't it something weird? It's not just DOT. Oh, wow, I was thinking of something else. So let's look at Bitcoin. Oh, Jesus. Oh, I remember this thing. Jesus Christ. Dude, markets that have no price history, it's like you're just guessing. There's no, I don't have thoughts on this market, to be honest with you, because if it has no price history, that is not, I don't know. I mean, look at this. TA that. I don't know. Polkadot. Still bearish on XTZ. Oh yeah, I should have talked about that, huh? Yeah, I mean, I'm relatively bearish. I mean, you can see it's kind of just bleeding through support. You know, you could argue support's right here. We really don't like this kind of stuff. Like, whenever things tend to bleed through support, that just kind of leads to capitulation. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I still don't, I still don't see the argument. So, the reason why XTZ was pumping so much, you know, at the beginning of the year, is because people weren't sure about what the crypto market was going to do, and so they were kind of hedging their risk by staking their coins. And I think what we're seeing right now with this slow bleed is we're seeing people slowly start to unstake their coins and put them into more productive things like Bitcoin, or insert altcoin here. So yeah, I'm still relatively bearish on XTZ. And we look at the USD pair. Get out of here. You know, we're kind of not seeing the best thing in the world here. We're seeing a bearish retest on the 200 EMA. Is there more price history somewhere else? No, not really, huh? So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of just the fact that it's dropping below support at the moment and not terribly eager to get back above it. You know, this isn't something that I would want to see as an XTZ bull. It's forming an obelisk, yeah. Can you do a quick recap on ETH BTC? I already did that. Go back like 20 minutes ago. Can you check out OMG? Yeah. Oh. OMG. Yeah, so I think when I did the stream, it was here, last stream. And I wasn't a big fan of this chart because it's just kind of above support and nothing really below it. Especially like this. This worries me whenever I see stuff like this. I mean, it's already retraced about 50% of its move. Oh, more than 50%. Yeah, it's already bled out a huge amount, and I could easily see this returning back to the 50 EMA. I mean, there's no reason to turn around here. Like, where, if the buyers didn't step in up here, why are they suddenly going to step in free space? There's no reason to see this turn around here. You know what I'm saying? This is interesting to see the Kijun just running away from price like that. You don't usually see that. Huh. Wonder what's going on there. Yeah, same story on the BTC pair. I mean, this just looks like a pump and dump, right? Yeah, I mean, sorry to everyone who bought the breakout, but it's not something that I really like to see. If anything, this looks like a bearish continuation. You know? I don't know. Coin's holding up though, I'll tell you that much. Loop ring just added to Coinbase. Typically anything, whenever something gets added to Coinbase, it just gets wrecked. This had a really long accumulation bottom. I bet that was Coinbase accumulating. Yeah, I mean, this trend looks healthy as you could ask for. That's for sure. Really clean cloud breakout as well. I think there's going to be some better buying opportunities though. I could see this coming down, given this little zone, a little love tap somewhere in there. Is there a USD pair? Whoa. Stair steppy, huh? This reminds me of Link. Link does this shit. We're just like, the 200 EMA is just like straight line. We're only bull. Just just plows upward. 50 EMA goes upward. That's what Link likes to do. If you look at the Link BTC chart, 200 EMA is like, we only go up. It's just keep going. But yeah, loop ring looks actually bullish. And the fact that it didn't have like this pump on a Coinbase listing is quite promising. Yeah, I like this chart. I like loop ring's chart. Are you actually bullish on it from like a fundamental standpoint? Celsius. Oh, God. What in the melting candlestick bullshit is this? How long is that wick? Oh, no big deal. Just a 30% wick that returned right back to the original price opened at. This isn't a coin I would trade. I don't like to trade really low liquidity coins like this because they're unpredictable and dumb shit happens when you have low liquidity environments. Like one medium-sized bag holder could just ruin the chart. ADA refocusing. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but oh, BTC pair is sitting right on that 200 EMA and the weekly 50. I don't like when markets do this. If you have a clear runway for a breakout of a cloud and you have everything going for you and you retrace anyway, I don't like that. I would feel more comfortable taking a long once it gets right back outside the cloud, personally. USD pair seems good though. especially with it sitting on the support right here too. Something like that. And this isn't a bad spot to start scooping it up. If you, I mean, anytime you have your back to a wall, this is a great spot because it's a very clear invalidation, especially with this 200 EMA here. And although the BTC pair is raising some eyebrows on the weekly, the fact that it has the 50 EMA there and the 200 EMA on the on the daily backing it up, that that is a decent argument to start buying if you were so inclined. I'll tell you what I don't like though. I don't like buying hanging support. And what I mean by hanging support versus propped up support is anytime you have these levels like, anytime you have levels like this, and the market comes down and retests something like this. Let's see, let's give a more. I would much rather be a buyer at this support than a buyer at this support. Because if this support breaks, typically there's a layer of other shit that cushions the fall. But if support like this, hanging support where it's a swing low rather than a swing high, that's support, when this snaps, it usually leads to capitulation. So buying retested old support can be hit or miss, because when you got to think about it from a psychological standpoint. When it comes down to this level, people can be looking to get out at break even. You're buying a support that's been tested a gajillion times, and that's kind of what we're seeing here on ADA. Is we're seeing this buying of hanging support here. So you're bullish on loop ring fundamentally. Yeah, well, I mean, the chart supports it. It looks like a really good chart. What, so it got listed on Coinbase today? What, the BTC pair or the USD pair? BTC hash rate is breaking out. Oh, it's open for deposits. Oh, I see. So I wonder if there will be a pump tomorrow then. But yeah, either way, I mean, I don't see a terribly good reason to jump into ADA unless you're just like a fucking Cardano bull, which is that I don't even know, is that a thing? Being a Cardano maximalist. I just don't see a reason. It's not making higher highs. It's not, it's not doing the change of character like that we saw with Ether. Where it's like breaking out in any capacity. I don't see a reason for Cardano to be a point of interest. Are you bullish for Bitcoin? Yeah, dude. That's what I've been talking about for the last hour. Anyway, I think that's probably good. That was like an hour and a half long stream. I think I got my point across in one way or another. Just a quick recap. I'm bearish the dollar, bullish everything anti-dollar. Oh, let me post this in the chat. I'll post this guy. Everything else, yeah. I'll post this chart link in the chat. In case you want to like put it up on the wall next to your Backstreet Boys poster. And I'll give you this. So here's dollar index. I'm gonna give you a couple. Boom. Boom. And there's that. And then let's do, you want the weekly or the daily? Let's do the daily. And then what other charts of mine do you want? Just tell me what chart you want and I'll put it up here. I'll put it in the chat. You want the Bitcoin one? Dude, if you want some pro tips, whenever we enter into a bull market, stop looking at crypto Twitter. Just delete your fucking account and stop looking at what other people are saying. And I promise you'll make more money. Myself included. Okay, I'll put the Ether chart here too. But here's Ether USD. And there's Ether Bitcoin. Going with the cloud on there? Yeah, we'll slap that guy on there. I'll tell you what, we'll do cloud, just the EMAs. That's a little bit cleaner. Gets the point across. Paste. Anything else? Speak now or forever hold your peace. I'll do total 2 as well. The altcoin market cap. How often are these live rooms? You want the bath chart? Yeah, sure. What do you mean by live room? I'm not sure what you mean. Dude, look how straight those dashed lines were. I freehanded that. Get out of here. This is the water sloshing. Yeah, we'll just say alts. It's not bad, right? How often are my streams? I mean, I'll do them every now and then, whenever I feel like there's something relevant to talk about, you know? You have that total market cap chart in Discord? Yeah. Wait, the one I just posted? This one specifically? No. But I have like the support and resistance stuff laid out. I'll post that in Discord right now. Bloop. All right, boys and girls. Thanks for stopping by. Glad to see viewer count being a little bit higher than it was before. If you're interested in joining my trading group, go to bitcoin.schmitcoin.com and sign up. Yeah. I don't participate in the Twitter sphere very much unless I'm summoned from the depths. So that's the best way to talk to me because I'm there all day on Discord. But yeah, if you'd like to join my trading group and have a little bit more of a deeper look into what I have to say or what other people have to say, go to bitcoinschmitcoin.com and sign up. Otherwise, you'll just be sitting here waiting for another stream, which may or may not take place in 5 years or not. So you guys have a great rest of your week. Keep the macro picture in your head. You know, don't get caught up in these low time frame, high leverage bullshit things. I mean, unless you're good at it, but most people aren't good at it. That's why these derivative exchanges are so profitable, because most people just lose their ass. So you're most likely better off just sticking to spot and looking at high time frames and going about your day and hanging out with your friends in the park instead of just staring at these charts like a pale neckbeard with low iron count and low bone density. So, all right. What else? That's it. Go to bitcoinschmitcoin.com and sign up. Goodbye.